proceeding with the program, I would love to hear from next board member of World Sound and Power Collective, brother Mike B. And he is responsible of a very interesting side of the project, which is the Bandcamp page. And also, he has an experience, and he can share a little bit about how reggae artists and other creative people that are involved with Rastafari helped through the process, the cause of the project. So, brother Mike, greetings.
Greetings. Can you hear me?
Blessed love. Yes, very well, very well. Greetings.
Thank you. Thanks. All right. So I'm Mike B. I serve as the treasurer of the Words on Power Collective. I've been involved in the collective from the beginning. Scott was talking about 15 or 16 years ago. This all started with a MySpace group, believe it or not, that was where some Rastafari reasonings were taking place. And I'm going to put some links in the chat for some additional websites where ones can check to see other arms of the collective, if you will. So you can check that out. Additionally, the email address, that email goes to Scott, but it's a good email address for general inquiries into the collective. My comments will be brief, but a few things I want to say. I also run a record label called Akashic Records, and I'm a partner in a distribution company that distributes dub and reggae around the world called iRoots Records. So that gives me an interesting channel where these two worlds come together, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that. I also want to dig into something that Scott said at the beginning that I think is really critical, and Flacco talked about it too. And that's the idea that beyond the religious disagreements and dogmatic disagreements that did come up back in the days in that MySpace group, there arose a shared sense of responsibility and duty. And I think it's really beautiful to see that that's what brings everybody to this meeting today and has brought everyone to the collective throughout the years. Thanks for that. Okay. So I also want to talk about transparency. I think one of the things about the collective that has been so phenomenal, and Papa Elliott has also really advocated for this, is 100% transparency on the works. So if you go to the website, you can see every project that's taken place. Further than that, Scott can usually tell you if you've given a donation, which project it's gone to. So I think this level of transparency has been very helpful throughout the years to keep that level of trust in the collective. We've seen in the past, through many organizations, both within the faith and without the faith, what happens when there's a slip up with transparency. Everything can go off the side. Okay, so to Julio's points, history of how reggae artists can help, or how sound systems can help, artists can help, visual artists, musical artists, some ideas of things we've seen that have led to giving a strength to the collective. It might sound funny, but there was a birthday party one year where a sis in the Netherlands asked everyone to donate to the collective. We've had dub parties in the United States, Switzerland, Spain. We've had online streaming festivals, actually all over the world, especially now in the time of COVID. This is a new way that people are having musical events. We've had charity fundraisers from Italy. We've had farmers who donated some of the income from their crops. We've had musicians donate their vocal work or their production work. Record labels have donated proceeds from their work. Painters have donated their artwork or proceeds from the artwork. Many of the eyes might know Bro Otto, a very gifted painter. He donated an image that Ross Julio put on posters, beautiful posters. And we put those for sale at the Bandcamp site that I put in the chat window. Those sold out very quickly, and we're planning to do another run very soon. And then finally, we are open to new ideas. People are often telling us they're going to throw an event, or they want to have some kind of fundraiser, and they're interested in using the Words on Power Collective logo or the links. And so Bro Scott has put together like a press kit, and that would be available upon request for people who are interested in various ways to promote and strengthen the Words on Power Collective. So that's all I've got for right now. Happy to answer questions or participate as the reasoning continues.
Give thanks, brother Mike. Yeah, so this show I really, how wide can be the range of possibility in supporting the project. And I just want to remind to all the family that is tuning in right now in this session that you can place your question and answer here in the chat room if you wish, or you can, expose your questions directly when there will be time. And so give thanks, brother Mike. So now I think that I would love to say just a few things about the collective, being also Ayman, one of the members of the board. I have the pleasure of working with Words on Power Collective from not many years, but has been like a fulfillment of a long-going collaboration. And when we look at the work of the collective, we are really looking to something that, like the brethren then said, goes beyond the ideology, but is strike to what is the true and most important aspects of any spiritual movement, spiritual practice, and or religious, call it as you wish, which is the care of one another. We know that religion is private, but the love of the Almighty is for all. So on this base, we try to advance, and the only way we can advance is if we establish or re-establish a kind of awareness that we are members of the same family, and we are looking at problems that generally every person is likely, every person of a certain age is likely to face. But in our case, we are talking about something different. What makes the receiver of the help of Words on Power Collective different is the fact that they are part of a faith which has been ostracized, a movement which has been persecuted, on a community level and on an individual level. So that makes the situation even harder. Like Rastafari was saying, many of the ancients have been rejected from the original family, and a place like Jamaica does not really have a system of pensions like in many other places of the West. So we're looking at situations in which the elders are really left on their own. And I want to say this not to repeat what Rasplaco or Scott already brought on the table, but just to emphasize that we need, as a Rastafari community, global community, aside from the mansions or not mansions, we need to consider, also because man is not getting younger. So the place where these elders are now, in the future, will be situations in which many of I might find ourselves. So it's good to say this, not to think in a selfish way, but just to realize that problems are not far from us sometimes. We might think, all right, we are young, all right, we are okay, we live in a side of the world where, you know, we might think things are more okay on that side. But if we look carefully, we as a Rastafari, you know, have to really think about the health and the general condition of our people. And this is very, very important. And even though, progress, the movement advance, we still have these, these afflictions to take care of. And so consequently, we need to find way to raise awareness about how we can help. And this brings me to my next point. I will be very brief because I want to leave also space for questions and answers, and I want to hear also what you all think. But I want to mention the fact that being the coordinator of a project called House of Rastafari, which is from 70 now almost 18 years, a project within the Rototom Festival in Spain. Obviously, last year the Rotterdam Festival has not happened like any other festival on this side of the world because of the situation which is going around. But when things are normal, so to speak, we have this space within the festival, which is the Rastafari headquarters inside the event. So simply speaking, there is an area within the festival in which we have Rastafari activities like Nayabing drumming, like conferences, like video screening, and we have guests. Every year we have guests, and there is a team of Ainai Brethren and Sisters from different sides of the world, which work in order to have this program going. So during the 2019 edition, we had the wonderful possibility of having as a guest Prince Hermaya Selassie from the royal family, and we have different guest speakers. Ras Elliot, Ras Scott were there, and same time Ras Flaco has joined the work and has strengthened the work different times. Ras Ibi from Ethiopia, and through the help of the Rastafari family in Spain, from Malaga especially, we have the possibility of running this program. So why I'm saying this? The program has not only a cultural aim, but has a humanitarian aim, objective. So there is food, there are Jews, there is a market, there are books on sale, and the profit goes to the Rastafari elders in need. Yeah. So that is a way to help the project coming together, with the crew, with the family, with the team, and having a presence at a local festival or a local initiative or wherever, doing few things, doing few cakes, selling some food, selling some art and crafts, and then, the profit or a part of the profit can go directly to the World Summon Power Collective. So we have been doing this through the years, and I'm not saying this because, the House of Rastafari want to be an example, because we are just servants, humble servants of the cause, but because this is to stimulate once and once, to do something similar, yeah, and coming up with a program, and at the end of the festival or at the end of the, I don't know, of the concert, yeah, you might have something in your box that you can send with a donation to through PayPal towards Sound and Power Collective. And we had also exhibition about World Sound and Power Collective. So we had the permission from the elders to have their picture, their story, so that people could come into the tent and really see, I mean, visually see the faces of these elders, and to read a little bit about their history and what was their problem and how these elders could be helped. So this is just to share some insights about the fact that, they say in Jamaica, every mickle make a muckle, every small thing can make, something bigger, and that can be that can be influential as well on the general state of the elders. And the Rastafari Farm, which is another project which is not directly promoted and managed by World Sound and Power Collective, but is somehow obviously related, strongly, closely related to World Sound and Power Collective. The Rastafari Farm is another important project which I've started with Rasflaco a few years back, and basically consists in a plot of land, a farm, near the Rastafari Tabernacle at Pitford. And on this land, elders can grow their food, their vegetables, and the vegetables can be shared, not sold. They can be shared amongst the Rastafari elders in need. Yeah. So that is another project, and being sufficient is really essential for those elders. So yes, this was what I had to say, and I want to give thanks once again for all once join the session. And before to go into questions and answer, would love to hear the testimony of Papa Elliot, that works as an elder advisor in the collective. And Papa Elliot, the eye there?
Haile Selassie I.
His Majesty. Give thanks.
Glory to word, glory to sound, glory to the true and living eye of iration, Emperor Haile Selassie I the First, who liveth and reigneth in the hearts of I and I continuously. Beloved brethren and sisters, it is a joy to gather with each and every one on the Zoom meeting. I want to take just a second to thank Russ Julio, Russ Flacco, and everyone else who has made this meeting possible today, as well as the meetings that preceded today's session, because this is one of several Zoom meetings that we've been having, and some of the participants may have had the opportunity to be present at the previous meetings. This is now my third, and some of my remarks today will, in general, speak to some of the issues that have already been raised in the preceding sessions. I would love to say that we have just had an anniversary of the Ground Nation Day in Jamaica. In 1966, His Majesty made an historic visit to Jamaica, which has been well celebrated and is now commemorated as one of the three principal days in the Rastafari calendar. when His Majesty met with the brethren during his visit, the most telling message that he left with them was to organize and centralize. Since that time, this remains the most pressing issue in the development of Rastafari, both in Jamaica, in the Caribbean, and globally. Most ones who are livicated to the Rastafari trod are well aware that the intention to work with brethren and sistren for the common good is what drives so much of the passion that ones bring to the mission of Rastafari. There are few successes that ones can point to as being pivotal in the international development of both the faith and the culture of Rastafari. Nevertheless, I are not dissuaded from the tasks at hand. And one of the reasons I am so happy to be a part of the Word Sound Power Collective is that from personal experience, I can now point to the collective as a success in the mission to organize and centralize. So it is a living duty and testimony to High Majesty when this work proceeds. And I consider it a way to edify through ministry. Edify through ministry. When I live the creed, I edify the might, majesty, and glory of Haile Selassie I. And that proceeds from the work of the ministry. I are ministers to the people in general. But unless I minister to our brethren and sistren without partiality, I could never reach the wider sphere. So the work of the Word Sound Power Collective, even though it might be one and few people involved, it goes very far in reaching some of the objectives His Majesty had in mind when he implored I to organize and centralize. Many are familiar that in a broad sociological sense, today's Rastafari movement emerged from the camp and yard experience in Jamaica and spread to other places in the Caribbean. So even the houses and mansions with which most are familiar, Nyabingi, 12 Tribe, Ethiopian Orthodox Faith, Bobo Shanti, and others. With the internet age, there are opportunities to grow beyond some of these sectarian divides that have hampered the development of Rastafari as a movement. So when the Word Sound Power Collective says that there is no affiliation beyond being Rastafari, that is a liberation. Why? There is no obligation to dogma or doctrine apart from the principle of love that Haile Selassie I and Empress Menen set for I. So with that liberatory spirit, I and I are free to do what? Live the creed in works and deeds. So I would like to say again how important it is for I-Man personally to be part of an organization of ones that, as I said, set a better example through transparency and accountability. I and I are blameless in the work that I and I do voluntarily. That is why it is so liberating, because good works cannot be constrained in any way. They are free. Free through what? Through what? Love. Okay, so having said that, I'm just going to conclude by saying the nonprofit status of the Word Sound Power Collective is critical to its development and to the wider development of Rastafari organizations and associations. The nonprofit tax exempt status that the collective enjoys has two very important positive contributions to make to the I&I development as a people. One is that as a nonprofit organization, the administration of the collective is where the transparency takes place. Why? Because the organization is structured in a way that the accountability is an ongoing process. The board members have to be working together in one accord, according to whatever mission is incorporated into the organization of the Word Sound Power Collective as a nonprofit group. That is one thing. So that would be internal. External now, the Word Sound Power Collective can operate in the wider world as a Rastafari organization or association. And I can do that in the name of Rastafari people. And the only way that I can do that successfully is by being transparent and accountable. So if I are truly blameless in the aspiration to live the creed, that sets a better example for ones and ones. So success can be measured, yes, in what type of on-the-ground assistance can be provided, especially to the elders in need, but the success can also be measured by the ability of the Word Sound Power Collective to simply function according to its nonprofit status and mission. Haile Selassie.
Give thanks, Ras Elliot. Beautiful. Give thanks, insightful. And I